Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Fractured Not Broken, the Relationship Wellness Podcast. It is your guy, Coach Reg, relationship coach, author, presenter, and host of this phenomenal podcast. Here at Fractured Not Broken, our goal is to transform how we show up and present in relationships that matter. And this episode is going to be around, I'll say, you know what? It could fit either because it's going to be tied to how we think about things and how we process things, right? So I would tell you that it's romantic, non-romantic. I could also tell you it's professional because, again, it's how we think about it. So you apply it as you need, if it helps at all, right? But what we want to get into today, on this episode, I should say, is rejection. Yeah. Rejection is something that we as humans struggle with, and it's not something that that's very comfortable. It's often an uncomfortable topic and it can cause us, I should say, to retreat, to question our value, to question our worth, to wonder if it's me, what's wrong with me, and all those things. And so my hope is to kind of discuss some things that may help us as we navigate that part of life. That is rejection, or that the perception of rejection. Okay, let's be very clear. Because when something happens, how we perceive it, it becomes our reality. It may not have been the intention of the offender, but if we are offended and feel rejected, it's very likely that we may not be thinking of it as we should, or in a way that serves and supports us. Let me say it differently. Because the intention may not have been what you received or how you felt about it, again, which became your perception, which became your reality. So I remember I've had tons of conversations with people about rejection, and oftentimes it can show up, you hear about it in dating. You may have an interest in someone. It could be a parent-child, a parent who is estranged from their child, and the child feels unwanted, unwelcomed, not valued, right? So rejection is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily show up in a romantic sense. It can show up in a familial sense, right? A non-romantic sense. And that's why I said I want to kind of share this from the vantage point of it's information and you can apply it as you see fit, if at all. And so when we think about the word rejection, we have made our requests known to whoever, and that person isn't open and or receptive, and we may process it as, I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, I don't matter, whatever that comes up as. And that's very curious to me because, again, I go back to we can be, as humans, so consumed with how we think and feel that becomes the narrative, that becomes the reality, that becomes the messaging, that becomes what we talk about. This always happens to me. It never works out for me. It works out for everyone else. When is it going to be my turn? When am I going to get a yes? Everyone around me seems to get yeses, but I don't get yeses. Okay? I'm not discounting it, folks. Let me be very clear. But I would also ask you to think about, what are you thinking when that happens? I get the courage it takes to reach to someone, to say hello to someone. If a man says hello to a woman and she's not receptive, if a woman says hello to a man, there's this notion that, men are accustomed to rejection. What human do you know that's accustomed to rejection? No, we're not. No one is. Yet it happens. And when it happens to a man and when it happens to a woman, it's uncomfortable. And you know what we have in common? We're all human. So gender aside, we're humans first. And so if I approach someone and she is not receptive to me, or if I approach a family member who I desire a relationship with and they're not receptive to me, Or if I apply for a position and they tell me they don't want to bring me in for an interview, they're not receptive to me. I understand that stings. This is not an indictment on the feeling or emotion that shows up when that experience occurs or should that experience occur. What I'm saying to you folks is that when those experiences happen, what's most important is how you think about it. And you get to choose how you think about it. You get to choose if you want to downward spiral. Woe is me. Oh my God, you don't understand. You get to do that. And it's okay if you do. Just don't stay there. Just don't stay there. Consider this. Maybe the person you expressed an interest in, the family member that wasn't receptive, the potential employer who said, thank you, but no thank you. Is it possible that maybe they saved you time? Isn't it possible that you were spared and or protected from something that you really didn't need in your life? Is it possible? It doesn't, I'm not saying these are coping mechanisms. What I am saying is it's important how we think about it, because how we think about it determines how we act and how we respond. EQ. You know we're going to do that, folks. Come on. This is what we talk about. I told you we're well past what attribute is present. No, we're now into, okay, what do I do when? And if you're new to me, you're seeing this for the first time, or you've only seen a couple of episodes, please go back to the earlier episodes to learn about EQ, because all the work we do on this platform, the work I do in my practice, is all based in emotional intelligence, EQ. Rejection. We have a choice in how we respond. We have a choice in how we think about it. And I'm not telling you it's easy. I'm sure anyone listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, has experienced some form of rejection, or feeling of rejection, I should say, in your life. It's impossible to avoid. It's impossible to skirt. It's how we feel about it. We question ourselves. God, what's wrong with me? What did I do? Why didn't they choose me? Why don't they want me? All real questions. Here's the problem. Here's the challenge, folks. Do you know those answers may have nothing to do with you and everything to do with the person? You see how selfish we are? How we think about us? I don't understand. It could be with them. It could be with them. Listen, if you're a man, forget it. Whoever you love, whoever you're interested in, if you are a man interested in women, if you're a man interested in men, if you're a woman interested in men, women, it doesn't matter, people. This is not about that. What I'm saying to you is this. When you express an interest, when you express vulnerability and you place yourself in a space that you can be told no, that ish stings. And it calls everything we thought about ourselves into question in that moment. And I understand it. That's called part of being the human experience. My admonishment and encouragement to us all is to pay attention to not the experience and how we felt about it, but how we think about it and how we choose to. I used to say this to people, and I still do. You know, if I expressed interest in someone and she is not receptive or wasn't receptive or what have you, I actually thank her. I'm not nasty, I'm not disrespectful or rude. I actually hey, thank you. And here's what I'm thanking her for, or here's what I thanked her for. I'm sorry, this is not present. This is, again, I'll share about me. I have no problem with that. This is my pod. You know, I need you to understand I'm human as well. But the reason I thank, or have thanked women in my past, is because I appreciate them not wasting my time, not pretending to be interested knowing they weren't, right? And that's okay. It really is okay, because it saved me time. I learned a long time ago, right? The time you spend trying to convince one person, hey, you're a good idea, or you could be a good idea, you miss out on 2, 3, and 4 who would say yes. I know it's radical, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. Think about it. If you are a confident person, if you have not a higher opinion of yourself than you should, but if you simply believe that you are a good idea, not that you're a good idea for everybody, but you know that you're a good idea or believe that you're a good idea, could be a good idea. And if in the first minute and a half of conversing with someone, and they are not savvy enough to deduce that you might be a good idea, why would you stay another 30 seconds to help them see the light? Part of what you're paying attention to, folks, is if that person that you've expressed interest in is smart, if they are aware. It doesn't mean that they think you hung the moon. It means that they recognize that this is a decent person. If they're also tracking, they are probably wondering, hey, I hope they recognize I could be a good idea too. That's why the conversation continues, folks. You see how that works? See, it's not about wanting what you want so much that you miss the social awareness that this person doesn't even see you because you're too busy focused on impressing, because you don't want to be rejected. You want to show them. Let it unfold. Folks, it comes in doing. And I promise you, anything you do in life, anything that you succeed in or have succeeded in life, it's come with some failures. It's come with some rejection, real or perceived. It happened. Those of us who are successful and continue to be likely use it for fuel. Do you know why? Because we have a short memory. We don't focus on the no. We don't focus on they said no. We don't do that. It was like, oh, that happened. I tell people all the time, I don't keep a lot of stuff. I don't. I really don't. And I keep the things that are important. My memory's pretty good. Sometimes it's a double-edged sword because I remember stuff I'd really rather forget. Just being honest. However, what keeps me going, and I share with you often, we have the facts and we have how we feel about them. And if we're not careful, those feelings will cheer us off of a cliff. Those feelings will take us to dark, deep places where we're questioning, where we can't even be good in relationship because we're now struggling with attachment types, insecurities that prevent us from being great in whatsoever the relationship. If it's a familial, non-romantic, if it's a romantic, someone you're interested in, if it's an employment situation. If your thoughts are not clear, if you do not have clarity, you are risking your mental health and well-being. Hear me, folks. If you're someone who believes and or feels that rejection follows you like a dark cloud, I would ask you to ask yourself a question. If this is happening and it's coming from multiple places, and the multiple places it's occurring, these multiple places haven't connected, haven't conferred, haven't had a conversation about you, is it possible that maybe it's something that you could change? Maybe there's something that you are unaware of. Maybe you have a blind spot. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you deserve these things or you're unworthy. It may require a modification in how you are doing things, how you are interacting. It requires some reflection. It requires you looking at the choices you make and how you execute those choices. If the perception is shared, again, from multiple sources, and that's not your intention, now the onus is on you, the individual, to say, okay, let me look at this. What am I doing? Where am I seeing consistencies because I'm doing the same thing. So I'm the common denominator. I'm in each of these experiences. But what can I change? If I'm getting this feedback, what can I change? If a woman isn't interested, if a man isn't interested, if a family member isn't interested, if employers aren't interested, at what point do we stop and say, is my way working? Is that something I can tweak to be better? The point, folks, is this. Not that we are going to escape rejection. It's how we think about it. And when it happens and it's happening in multiple places, it's important for us to look in the mirror and say, hey, I need to evaluate this. How do I need to be better? What can I change? What can I modify? What can I do to maybe get to different results? Well, guess what, folks? That's what coaching is. You had to know I was going to get there. You had to know that. Do you think I'm doing this for my health? No, my goal is to have impact. This is the work I do. I work with people to help them show up and transform how they present in relationships that matter most. This is one of those ways. Rejection is something that we deal with as humans. It's a human experience. How we respond to it, though, is what counts. I could go on, but I hope you get the idea. I really do. Listen, wherever you consume the pod, please get out to rate and review it. If you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have comments, please leave them. If you want to know if we could work together, there's an opportunity for you to tap in using our link tree, book a discovery call, and we can talk about it to see if we can help you and support you in the area that you're struggling, especially if it's this one, because this right here, how we think about things, if we're feeling rejected, if we're feeling that this continues to happen, or whatever emotion or feeling, I should say, that comes as a result of the experience, we can work on that. Because here's the thing, folks, I want to say this before we go. Keep in mind, there are two things that occur. It's the experience and it's how you think about it and how you felt about it. And that's the part that doesn't get talked about. That's the part I'm talking to you about now. See, because we all have experiences. Like if I have an experience with my neighbor, like a hello or a good morning or, why's your dog on my lawn? That's an experience. But how we feel about it doesn't get discussed. We sometimes leave it at, we had an experience. We both acknowledge the experience, but we don't talk about the elephant in the room because although it's an elephant in the room, it doesn't get seen. It's how you feel about it. Rejection. How you feel about it. How you think about it. Because how you feel informs how you think. What I'm saying is let's get this right, and that'll help us to manage and mitigate and self-manage and self-regulate our feelings. Anyway, hope that made some sense. Listen, folks, look forward to seeing you on the next episode. It is your guy, Coach Reg, and I will see you soon. Take good care.